Hi everyone, it's your girl Zimbo Down Under. Thank you for joining me to part 2 of the series that we're making a beaded headband in this part. So something similar to this, obviously not this one. This one was for a specific event, but it's a similar technique using beads. So stay tuned, hopefully you enjoy this video. Feel free to share the video with anyone that you know that likes beading. I'm going to measure your head, and it is 55 centimeters. How big is Amy's head? It is 51 centimeters. Oh, 51 centimeters. Okay, high five. High five. Good job.
High five again.
High five.
Zilla!
Oh my God.
Welcome to part 2 of my series, and today we're going to make a beaded headband using this loom. So this is a beading loom, and a lot of people have asked me where I got mine. I actually bought mine online a long time ago, I think over 10 years ago. And so I start by removing these two things, and I'm left with the metal frame, which I'm just going to put on the side. So for today we're going to use these 5 color beads, and I decided to go with these small beads because I didn't want my headband to be too thick or too heavy. Also remember, we're making this headband for kids, and what I'm also going to use is a needle and my wildfire beading thread, and I have beige. It doesn't really matter what color you use. I also have my wax and also my measuring tape, and at the ends I'm going to put my ribbon, and I'm also going to use some tape and a pair of scissors. So let's get beading. So to start off, I'm going to measure my thread, and I just need to make sure my thread is more than 15 inches. So I will need to double my thread, and I'll also need to make sure that I add some extra thread, which is that much, and then I'm going to cut the thread. So depending on how thick you want your headband to be, you need to double your thread according to how many lines you want it to be. So I chose to do 4 long threads, and 4 long thread is going to make 8 lanes. So here is my thread. You can see that I have 4 threads, and then I'm going to just fold it in half like that, and that fold is going to go in that little knob. And then I'm gonna take my thread and put it through the knob, and I'll start rolling it onto this wooden part of the loom. And then I'm going to take my tape, and I like to use this type of tape, which is masking tape, and I'll just hold my thread in place like that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the metal frame of the loom, and I'm going to put that wooden part into the metal frame, and I need to make sure that it's aligned, and I'm going to use my scissors to tighten the bolts. Then I'm going to take the other wooden part of the loom, and I'm going to roll the other end of the thread. And you'll see me here taking my measuring tape just to make sure that it will be long enough for the heads that I measured. So there's no wrong or right way of loading your loom, but this is how I do it. I've tried different techniques, and this works for me. And when I do, I just want to make sure that my thread has the same tension. And then I'm going to lock the other side of the loom like this. What I like to do next is make sure that each single thread goes in its own groove. So this part takes a bit of fiddling. And then once you're ready, you can tighten the other side like this. And so here's our beading loom. It's now loaded and ready to start using. To start beading, I will take my thread and needle, and I'm going to tie a knot like this on the last string on the loom. So the last string, as I am doing here. I like to make 2 knots so that it's secure, and then the remaining string I don't really cut it as yet because I'm going to use it at the end. I'm just going to secure it with my tape. And then I like to just count, because I have 8 strings, I just count to make sure I know how many beads I need. And I need 7 beads, so I'm just going to start by loading my 7 beads. And at this start I've put 7 of the same color, so 8 strings equals 7 beads. And then I'm just going to put my beads through. So how this loom works is your beads need to go under the loom, which is what I did. Look here, it's under the loom, and I'll use my index finger to push the beads up. And then I'll make sure, which is just the annoying part when you start, it's only the first row, like this part, that's annoying, because you have to just make sure that each bead goes through a different groove, and sometimes it can be finicky. I didn't want to forward it because I wanted you to see how much finicky it is. And then when the thread goes back, it goes through the top, so it goes through the hole but through the top. So I'm doing my next row, and my row is going to have 7 orange beads again. So I'm going to do 2 headbands, 1 orange headband and 1 yellow headband. As we saw our necklace, one necklace is orange based and the other one has yellow, so the girls do not mix their headbands up or their outfits up. Everything else will be mostly similar, but that's the 2 differentiation. So I'm just gonna quickly go through and do a few rows using my orange. It's up to you. If you want, you can just start the whole pattern with a design. This is how I've decided to do these headbands for these girls. So from here, I'm just gonna start introducing color. And as you can see, I've taken 1 blue bead, and then I'll load 6 orange beads. And then I'm going to go under, push my beads up using my index finger, and then my thread is going to go through the bead, but on top of the loom. And then I'm going to pull, and then push, and then I'm going to take 2 blue beads, and then 5 orange beads. So whatever I decide to do, I just need to make sure that I'm loading 7 beads. And this pattern is going to have little triangles. So when I add the blue beads, the number of orange beads start decreasing. So here I've added 3 blue beads, which means I need to put 4 orange beads. And then my thread is going to go through the loom back to the start. I'm putting 4 blue beads, which means I need to put 3 orange beads. These orange beads just keep bouncing everywhere. And this bead size, I'm actually not too sure. These were really small beads that I got from a kid's set. And I really like the size because it's for small girls. I think it's not going to be too heavy. But I'll put the size of the beads in the description. And then I am putting 5 blue beads and 2 orange beads. And it's going to go under, and then index finger up, and then my needle is going to come through the beads on top, and then 6 blue beads, 1 orange bead, and we are almost halfway in our first triangle. So just watch, and then once we get to the 7 blue beads, our triangle is going to start decreasing. So here we're doing 7 blue beads, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Gonna go under the loom, push it up with my index finger, and my thread is going to go through the beads but on top of the thread. And now we're going to start. So this is halfway through our first triangle. It's going to start decreasing. So here we're going to start by putting our 6 blue beads and then our 1 orange bead last, because it's going to start decreasing. It'll make sense once I start beading. always remember, whatever color you want your triangles to be, you have to start the colors from the bottom, so it will be opposite, it will be reversed. And then now we start introducing another color. I've put 5 blue beads. Oops, I keep knocking these beads. And then 1 orange bead, and then 1 red bead. And then I'll start increasing the number of the red beads and start decreasing the number of the blue beads. It will make sense as you watch me do it. And now we've come to the middle of our red triangle. I just want to measure using my measuring tape because I want to keep track of how long this headband will be. I don't want it to be too long. I want it to be 15 inches, so it's already 5 inches. So I just need to do 10 more inches. I need to unscrew and move my loom because you can see I'm running out of space. So you can see, because this is 5 inches and I need 15 inches, I'm gonna have to do this process 2 more times. So the process basically is to unscrew the wooden frame of the loom, move my headband, so the part that's already been done, to the left side, and then once I have the thread on the loom that hasn't been beaded yet, I'm just going to make sure I move the thread around back into its own groove. This time it's easier because the other side is holding the grooves together. So there we go, it's already done. So we are halfway on our red triangle, and I'm going to do the last part, and then I'm going to be introducing a new color soon. So here I've put my 1 orange bead and my 6 red beads. Next time I am going to add a new color here. So that is how this beading with the loom goes. Normally when you do this headband, as I mentioned before earlier, you use the belt method. So I'm going to show you how to do the belt method in the next video, which is just the normal beading that I normally do. But I like to use this loom because it actually gives a nice pattern. As you can see, look at the pattern, it's very neat and it's quite clear to see. Usually you would put black and white to separate the colors, but because I'm doing orange and yellow on my 2 beads, so I'm going to just use orange and yellow to separate the triangles, as you can see. So I'm going to forward the video from here, and then I'll come back and talk to you once my thread is running out.
So you can see here that my beading thread is getting shorter. I'm just going to do one more row like this, and then I am going to add a new thread. I'm just going to quickly go back through the loom with my previous needle. I'm just going to go back and forth, and then I'm going to tie a knot, and then I like to do my knots in the middle of the loom so that it's not showing too much. Also, if you do it towards the ends, sometimes it can be pricky. And then I'm just going to take my new thread, and I'm going to tie a knot here in the middle, so the new thread and the old thread, and I'm just going to simply cut it. I will load my new thread, and then I am going to go through the loom back and forth until I come back to where I started. So that's how simple it is to load new thread onto this beading loom. I also like to tie a knot somewhere when I have done this, so it just depends. Because this is a headband, it's not gonna be pulled that much, but because it's for kids, you would really like to make sure that it's quite secure. So I'm just going to come out here, and I'm just gonna keep going back in and out until I return back to the same position where my thread ended. And from here, I'm just going to continue doing my triangles, and I'll measure. And once I have finished the loom, because you now know how to move the loom across, I'm going to, once I finish my triangles, I'm going to add another orange part to the other end so that it's duplicate with the other end, and then I'll come and talk to you. So I'm just going to forward the video so it's not too long.
So there we go, we've come to the end of the loom. I've made sure that I've put the same number of orange rolls this side as I've done at the beginning to make it symmetrical. And once I'm done, I'm just going to undo my thread from the loom and I'll detach the headband from the loom. And look how neat it is. I like doing these headbands on a loom because it is so neat. And when I fold it like this, you can see how symmetrical it is. So before we tackle anything else, I need to make sure I tidy these ends. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through with my needle that's on the thread. And then I just start taking all these end pieces, these end colors, and then I'm just going to go through and bring the thread out through the center of my loom. It'll make sense. So I like to go back and forth until I come back through the center. So I'll have I think two loads of threads hanging from each side of the center. So just watch what I'm doing. And this is the last thread that I'm bringing through. Here we go. It's coming out through the center. This is my cheat way of doing this. It's not usually how I used to do it before, but because I'm making this for kids, I want to make sure that it is strong. So this is what I mean, that all the threads will come out through the center. And all I'm simply going to do is I'm going to pull the tension. I don't really like that gap that's coming out there, but it's fine. We shall move on. I'm taking my ribbon because I'm going to use a ribbon, and I'm going to just attach some of the threads to the ribbon. And then all I'm simply going to do is I'm going to braid the ribbon and this thread, and then when I cut it, it will be secure. So just watch what I'm doing. So here I've put my thread through the ribbon and I'm just going to braid it down like this. This is my method. And then I'm going to tie a knot. I'm going to cut the excess thread and I'm going to burn them off so that it doesn't fray. And I like doing it this way because I know kids, they will play with this and until it comes off. And I'm just going to tie on top of my burn so that it doesn't tack their hair when they put it on. So it's like that. And then I'm going to burn the ribbon and it won't be tacky on the hair. So that's how I do it. And I'm just going to cut the end of the ribbon and I'm going to burn it off like that so it looks a bit cute. And with editing magic, I've already done the other side, so it looks like this. So when the kids wear the headband, they're going to use the ribbon to tie it around their head. I like to do it this way and not elastic because they can wear this headband for quite a long time until it's small, probably until they're 12 if they can still fit. And so we're going to tackle our other beads that are going in the center of the headbands. To do the center, I'm going to double thread my needle, and I like to do it double because it's for kids and I want to make sure that it is secure. There's nothing as embarrassing as having your loose beads coming off. So because it's double looped, it's easy to start. I just put the loop through and then I pull my needle through the middle of the double loop. And here I'm just counting. And here all I do is I'm going to choose the bottom side, which is the side that my needle is going to come out. That's the bottom side that will have the tassels, and I am going to start adding my tassels. So I like to just go back and forth up through the loom so it doesn't show exactly where I'm starting my tassels, but I'm going to start off here and I'm going to work my way out. So I don't know if it makes sense. I'm taking my orange beads because orange is the main color for this headband, and I'm going to put some of the other colors inside in the inside. And while I'm doing this, I'm still working out what my pattern will be because it's all in my head. It's something that I've been thinking of, and then once I'm sure what pattern I want for my tassels, I'm going to start loading my orange beads. So here I've put 5, 6, 7 orange beads, and then I'm going to take one green bead, one blue bead, two blue beads, and then one green bead. And because I've put 7 orange beads at the end, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to put 7 orange beads at the end. And because these tassels are going to go in the front of my headband, I will need to continue adding the beads. So I don't know if it makes sense. I will have to continue adding the number of beads. So I'm just counting and I'm making sure that it's going to come out through the exact same place where the other side is. So this is our first set of tassels, and I'm just checking whether I like the colors because it's all in my head, or whether it's too big. And I am thinking, yeah, I like the colors. Do I want to separate it a bit more? Do I want to skip a row, or do I just want to make it tight? And I've decided to make it tight. So we're gonna go with our next row. So we're gonna go and do our next tassel, and I'm just gonna add one bead. So I'm gonna put 8 orange beads, and then one green bead, and then 3 blue beads, and then one green bead, and then 8 orange at the end. And so just watch what I'm doing. I'm just adding the colors and the number of beads each time. So when I add an extra orange bead, I'm also going to add an extra bead in the middle, so in the blue color. So watch what I'm doing. And I also like to make sure that it's symmetrical, so the number of orange beads that I've done on the other side is going to be the exact same number of beads that I do on the other side. That's why you see me counting to double check and make sure that I am making it as symmetrical as possible. So the orange beads are going to be loaded, and it's going to go back through my headband. And you can see these tassels are quite easy because all I'm simply doing is going back and forth. I'm not cutting the thread, I'm not adding new thread, I'm not tying anything new. It's just going back through the next row, and we're going to add our next set of orange beads. So we're going to go one extra bead from the number we had. So we had 8 before, so I think we're going to go 9 orange, 1 green, 4 blue. If you're confused about any part of this video, make sure you put your comment and I'll try and explain it, or I'll put a short video to explain it. So enjoy as I continue putting these tassels. I've decided on just putting 3 tassels because this is a kid's set. I don't want the tassels to be in their face. or in their eyes. So once I've finished, I'm just going to go back and forth with my thread and until I feel like it's secure. And then I'm gonna leave one, because it's a double thread, I'm gonna leave one thread somewhere here, and then I'm gonna continue with the other thread, and then I'm gonna come back down till I come back to the other thread, and then I'm gonna tie a knot. And then once I've tied that knot, I'm going to use my thread and I'm going to cut the excess thread, and this is what my headband looks like. And because I'm doing two headbands, this is the yellow one. So there we go, the two headbands for the girls. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. Make sure you stay tuned to the third and final part of this series, which is the belt, in the next video.